Man, all right, so let's move on to a really interesting news story brought to us by a viewer like you. Full credit to a mom for emailing me. I hope I'm saying your name right. Has a very interesting story out of South America. So, from the piece written by newsroom.gy, it's from a news production site in Guyana, which is in South America. It says the U.S. naval ship and a GDF Coast Guard conducted joint training in Guyana's waters. So it looks like the Coast Guard of Guyana has like maybe one ship. There's not very big, right? They don't really have a navy or anything. But what they do have now is they have oil. Oil was discovered off the coast of Guyana in 2015. And ever since then, they've been working with American petroleum companies like Exxon to get the oil out of the ground. And that approval process and support takes a long time. But they managed to get it fast-tracked, and oil production has already begun off the coast of Guyana. And we have our naval ships down there providing training and exercise with them, and also doing some patrols with ships like the USNS Burlington. From the piece, I'm just going to read from that, and now I'm going to give you the whole history behind this. The U.S. naval ship USNS Burlington conducted a joint training exercise in Guyana Defense Force Coast Guard on September 18, 2021. The operation included countering illicit traffic operations and monitoring techniques. The USNS has been in the region conducting operations with Guyana, Trinidad, and Tobago. The USNS Burlington is the U.S. Navy's 10th Expeditionary Fast Transport, or EPF, vessel. EPF vessels are versatile, non-combatant, and that's really important here, non-combatant transport ships that are used for high-speed transport of troops, military vehicles, and equipment. Vessels are support a variety of missions, including overseas contingency operations, humanitarian assistance, and disaster relief. Support of special operations forces, theater, security cooperation activities. So this is kind of an implied threat right here. Special operation forces operate off this boat, but it is a non-combatant. And the U.S. is committed to strengthening the capabilities of partners of Guyana for the security and prosperity of the region. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Wow. Okay. So what's going on here? Let's talk about Guyana. Guyana is this country right here. Let's zoom out for you. This is South America. Guyana is just east of Venezuela. Oil was discovered, off the coast of Venezuela a long time ago. Venezuela became a petro-state after they started oil production. Venezuela, not Guyana, Venezuela began working with a lot of companies, including American companies like Sunoco, Exxon, BP, all these big petroleum companies from around the world, not just the United States. And what Venezuela did was they said, hey, we control 60% of all of the buildings, vessels, drilling rigs, including the oil you come out of the ground. 60% of that belongs to Venezuela. If you want to come drill our oil, you get 40%, but everything you bring into our exclusive economic zone, whether it's a boat, a person, 60% belongs to us. That was the deal that Venezuela offered other companies to come in from around the globe and drill off Venezuelan coast. This is going back into whenever oil was discovered, like pre-1976. 1976 is a very important date for the story. Okay, so pre-1976, that was the deal Venezuela had. And we're going to get back to Guyana in just a second. So 1976 comes along, and this chucklehead comes into power. His name is Rafael Caldera. He is the president of Venezuela in 1990, actually. But in 1976, the president of Venezuela back then nationalized all of the oils. So it was a state-controlled company that other companies like Exxon, BP could come in and conduct their operations under the state-controlled company of Venezuela. In 1990s, this gentleman right here is accused of allegedly embezzling a lot of that money. Remember that 60% I'm talking about? It's supposed to be going to the country of Venezuela for social services, roads and bridges, hospitals and education. Well, maybe out of the 60% that's supposed to be going to the country, it's only about 30%. Where's that other 30% going? Well, it's lining the Swiss bank accounts of a lot of people, including the president at the time, including this gentleman right here, who was primarily accused of embezzling a lot of the money, and not going to Venezuela. So this caused a big uproar in the country of Venezuela. Until 1999, they had an election, some would say a coup, whenever this gentleman named Hugo Chavez was elected or became the new president. And he came in and said, hey, we're going to make sure all the money's going to the social services. One of the good things Hugo Chavez did, because he has a mixed reputation, right? But on the positive side, he promised that everybody in Venezuela was going to become literate. I guess they had a big illiteracy problem where not everybody could read. And so he promoted schools. Everybody goes to school. Everybody learns to read. And from there, we're going to grow the nation. And so he did a lot of good things, especially in the beginning of his reign of Venezuela. Hugo Chavez died in 2013, by the way. But the longer he stayed in power, from 2000, 2001, 2002, he became more and more apparently greedy and began doing the same thing the previous guy was doing. Wouldn't you know it? These dictators have a lot in common, it seems. So now he starts being accused of embezzlement and stuff like that, and he's had enough of it. So in 2007, Mr. Chavez here says, you know what? There's a new deal. There's a new deal in Venezuela. That's right, boys and girls, brand new deal. The deal is Venezuela, instead of 60%, now owns 80% of your ass. 80% of that oil rig, that's ours. 80% of that boat, it belongs to us now. Oh, 80% of the profits, too, from the oil. It is believed that that deal was made in part to cover up some of the embezzlement, the new embezzlement that was coming on, allegedly. Okay, this is all alleged, right? So a lot of companies in 2007 said, no, we're sticking to the 60% deal that we had in the beginning, where Venezuela gets 60 and companies like Exxon and Sunoco, American companies, get 40%, right? And so Venezuela said, hey, I'm seizing your assets. Instead of 80%, we're taking all of it. Exxon, get the hell out of our country. Sunoco, get the hell out of Venezuela. It was a big deal. It was a big blow. Exxon did not expect them to make that demand. This guy is a dictator, a military leader, and he was essentially threatening the safety of the employees and workers. So everybody in those companies got out. Some companies stayed, by the way. And do you want to know who one of them was? British Petroleum. British Petroleum saw what happened to Exxon, and they signed on. They were like, okay, 80% sounds better than you taking everything. And so there were still some companies that worked with Venezuela after this big coup. All right, so Venezuela seizes, in the American news, all the oil, but it's not really all the oil because they're still working with other companies other than American companies. So now America and Hugo Chavez have a beef. Okay, and that's where this all started, by the way. Keep in mind, this gentleman died in 2013. But who was the CEO of Exxon in 2007? Anybody? Does anybody in chat know history? Does anybody know? Okay, I'm going to tell you. This gentleman right here. Rex Tillerson. Rex Tillerson was the CEO of the Exxon company whenever they were kicked out of Venezuela. This man got pissed because it made him look bad. Plus, he had just become the CEO. This was the first major crisis of him as a CEO of the Exxon company. And he lost, essentially. He lost Venezuela. He lost the contract. He lost all those assets because Venezuela physically seized all those assets. The only thing that got away were the employees, and I hope all of them. I don't even know if all of them got out. So this guy looks like an idiot. Brand new CEO, lost Venezuela. Shareholders are pissed. Exxon loses a lot of money. Venezuela seizes everything. Well, he doesn't get mad. He gets even. Yeah. So Exxon knows that there is more oil in the Caribbean than is just right here off the coast of Venezuela. This whole area, this whole shoreline is a big old oil field. Billions of barrels, lots of oil. So they immediately, 2008, 2009, begin working with Guyana to say, hey, let's see if there's any oil over here. And in 2015, they find it. Yeah, but Venezuela, for decades, has claimed the entire oil field as its economic exclusion zone, including waters off the coast of Guyana. Yeah, very similar to China in the South China Sea, claiming the waters and all the resources underneath. Well, Venezuela is acting a lot like China in this case and saying, hey, we own all these oil fields. Oh, and these over here as well. You know, whenever they were discovered in 2015. So there is this political fight going on between somebody. Let's find him again. Where's Rex at? Rex, come back, Rex. There he is. Between this guy, he now wants to drill for oil off the coast of Guyana, right? But he's the CEO of Exxon. So how's he going to do that? So whenever Trump gets elected, President Trump, he becomes the Secretary of State for President Trump. He resigns as CEO from Exxon, is immediately made the Secretary of State for President Trump, ratified or whatever you call it, certified by Congress, and he fast tracks Guyana's application to use American companies to drill for oil off the coast of Guyana. Yeah, this is how he gets back at Venezuela. Long after Hugo Chavez has died and is in the ground, this gentleman right here, he's still pissed off at what this dead motherfucker did to him. So he fast tracks the paperwork, gets approval. Exxon is drilling, surveying first, constructing, and then began drilling a few years later off the coast of Guyana. And that is the backstory of these two things. And this is why we have an American non-combatant but a warship helping Guyana out, because this is happening in the exclusive economic zone of Venezuela. And Venezuela is in the midst of a bit of a crisis right now with their new president. This gentleman took over after Chavez died. And I think his name is Medvedev or something. Let's see if it says here. I don't know. Anyway, so they're looking for more money, including oil money, oil that they've already claimed for decades. And there's this tension, there's this conflict again between Guyana, who has no navy to speak of. You know, they have like one Coast Guard ship essentially, and like a supply ship after that. And then there's the American Navy, or the Americans are there helping Guyana drill this oil now. Yeah. So we'll see where this goes. This story is in progress. We don't know how far it's going to go, but Venezuela has a financial incentive to try and seize these assets that American warships, even though this is a non-combatant, but it's still a U.S. Navy ship. It's a U.S. Navy flagged ship that supports special operations like SEALs and Marines, Rangers, things like that, operate off this ship. Ships like this one, I should say, to be more specific. And so this drama is going down right now off the coast of South America. We'll see where it ends up. We really don't know, but that's where it sits as today. All right. So what do you guys think about this? Maduro. Thank you. I couldn't remember his name. Yeah, Maduro. I was doing research on Guyana, and I came across this. They have a Guyana carnival every year. And I'm like, hell yeah. I think I need to go visit Guyana now. Look at this. These people are beautiful. Oh my word. I think I'm going to violate Twitch TOS here in just a second. Maybe we should stop scrolling. But yeah, I'm booking my flight to Guyana for sure. Absolutely beautiful people down there. So I really hope nothing comes of this. I honestly do. I hope Guyana gets their oil. Oh, Guyana is a very small country, as you can see right here. Only 800,000 people in the entire nation. So this money would change their life. It would completely change their economy. Could you imagine having a relatively small country with a huge amount of cash inflow? Look at countries in the Middle East that are physically small, but have huge stores of oil. And how it's changed those countries in terms of infrastructure and school and even political power in some cases. Guyana could become a big player in South America, if not the Americas, the entire region, with the money that they're receiving with this oil. And they have a neighbor much larger than them that has a much larger military, both Air Force and Navy, next door that is eyeballing their oil. So this is a very interesting scenario. Like if you're into wargaming out different ideas and different, possibilities, this is one that's worth looking into. So we'll see what comes from this. Okay. The UAE is a great example. Yeah. A physically small country that has enormous amounts of wealth because of the oil up here. And then also, will Guyana fall down into the same trap that Venezuela and many other countries have, where the leaders take the money instead of giving it to the people and improving the social services? of the country. Hopefully that doesn't happen either. That'd be like the worst case, you know. Famous Jonestown cult was down there. Really? I know they went to South America. I didn't realize that they went down there. Ice Boy says, imagine thinking that they'll see the money when Exxon and the military have their pot in already. You're right. You know what? Exxon, that's doing a lot of the work and physically getting the oil and processing it, they deserve to be paid, for one. And whatever that ratio is going to be up to Guyana and Exxon to work out. I mean, 60-40 split is not a bad split if you're getting resources from another country, right? And it's good for the country because Guyana, you know, they create jobs and they get 60% of the profits. Yeah, that's pretty good. It's a good deal for everybody. It's a win-win, even if it's 60-40. Helipad says maybe this will turn into Dubai of South America. That is what I'm hoping. I hope this becomes one of the richest countries in South America, if not the Americas. Well, it can't rival the United States just because of physical size, but I hope this becomes one of the richest countries in South America. They deserve it, I think. G-Bus says going to go through 60% of his special forces, refusing. Oh, I'm not going to go through that. No. Doubtful money will ever go through. Well, we'll see. Like, a lot of people in chat are speculating that Guyana citizens will never see a dime. And I hope that's not the case. That wasn't the case in Venezuela. I should, just to make sure that we're clear here, the Venezuelan people saw money from their oil sales. They just didn't see all of it that they were supposed to, by a lot. Okay, it was pretty obvious that money was going missing. And so everyone was looking at, obviously, the leaders, and implying that maybe Exxon got some kickbacks too, okay? It wasn't just the Venezuelan leaders stealing the money. It was potentially these other companies. And the companies that still work with Venezuela. How dare you, BP? But see, whenever it comes to corporations and, you know, resource extracting, you know, profit, the bottom line means more than anything else. It's not the only thing, but it is the most important thing. Don't let them tell you different. Elise says the money will stop with the investors of Guyana and maybe some politicians. Everybody's going to be getting a piece. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Everybody will get a piece, hopefully. But I'm really rooting for Guyana right now. I hope, one, they don't go to war, and I hope they get increased social services and all the things that come with that, better education, and really improve the country. The country looks beautiful right now. I don't know a lot about the country, but just in the brief research that I did for it, it looks like a really nice vacation spot. I would love to go visit it. So I hope it works out for him. All right, that's the last story I have today. Thank you to Amam for showing me this story, this one right up here with the newsroom from newsroom.gy for Guyana. Had not heard about this. I didn't know anything about this before this morning. So thank you for that, sir. If you guys have a news story for me, make sure you email me at aaron@subbrief.com. That goes to one person, and that's me. I'll read your email, okay? All right, guys, we'll be right back with more Cold Waters in just a minute. Bye. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to mute myself.